Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. This week, I wanted to talk about not delaying opportunities. And this came from a very simple encounter I had on my bike. So I have been planning for my November album, which is tentatively called The End of Almost Everything, which I don't know why all of my November albums are vaguely apocalyptic, but it feels appropriate for writing an album moving into winter, I guess. But like the concept of the end of almost everything is not necessarily like the apocalypse, but just kind of the transition of a lot of things from one state to another. And while I was on my bike ride a couple weeks ago, I saw that some weeds had managed to not only grow through like the asphalt of the path, but also kind of just crack away at the path and push their way through. And like it pushed out this big chunk of asphalt, which I thought was really cool. And I was like, that's neat. And I kept riding, and then I stopped. And then I realized that would be interesting for maybe the liner notes or something for the album. Because it's not that the concept of the album isn't necessarily supposed to be super bleak, but I wanted it to be, have maybe the liner notes have some kind of like hope for it, where it's just like, yes, it's all paved over and it's industrialized, but there's also like nature still pushing through and still fighting against this kind of incursion into the park. The natural environment. And like all of this kind of flashed through my head where it's like, that would be cool. That would be neat. And then I kept writing, and then I stopped, and I was like, I should just take a picture of that now, because who knows when that will get fixed. And I rode back and I took a couple pictures and I just kept going. And that whole process where it's just like, I could do it now, but I'll just do it like the next time I ride through. Like that can be, that's an opportunity that you don't want to gamble on. Like it was a really cool moment, and I wanted to make sure that I captured it. And who knows when they're going to fix that. And it's been a couple weeks, if not a month or two, and they still haven't fixed it. I actually have taken a couple pictures, to kind of document the weeds growing through and kind of thriving through that hole in the asphalt, which again, like if I didn't take that first picture, there wouldn't be context for the second picture that I took, where they're actually like thriving and growing. And it's entirely possible that I might stage a third picture where I like buy a flower or something and I just kind of plant it in the hole. And, and I'm still considering doing that. I don't know. Excuse me. But if I didn't have the first picture, then the context of the second picture wouldn't make any sense. So being able to kind of approach this stuff and understand that like I want to capitalize on this while I have the opportunity, and I don't want to push it away, because who knows when it'll get fixed or when it will go away. So having a little bit of kind of structure or that control over like moving away from the one track mind where it's like, I'll do it next time. I'll be able to plan and prepare and all that stuff, and just be like being spontaneous and being able to kind of break from that routine that you're used to and turn around and head back and do the things that you need to do. I think that's really valuable. And that mindset is tough, because it involves spontaneity. And I know there are a lot of artists out there who are spontaneous, but I also know a lot of artists like myself who are very like rigorous when it comes to scheduling and production and all of this other stuff, where it's very easy to just be like, I'll just do that later. I'll be able to plan for it and grab a nice camera or, get better lighting or whatever. And it's just like, just got to do it now. And if it persists, then do it better later. And that is really valuable, and it's really important. And I hope that I'm conveying that well enough for people. But yeah, like I think that it's just really important to be able to do that kind of stuff and to be able to recognize those opportunities as well. Because if I hadn't been thinking about the album at that time and I just saw that basically it's a pothole with weeds sticking out of it, like that wouldn't have had the same value for me. But you know, it was just a confluence of ideas and times, and it worked out very well. And hopefully I'll be able to get something out of it in the liner notes for the album or some other instance where I think that it will be cool. So, or maybe it won't be used at all, but it was at least an experience for me to talk about this, because there are definitely other opportunities in your life where you're just like, oh yeah, I'll try doing that, later. And then when later comes around, it's too late. For example, with game development, there have been several game ideas that I came up with a very long time ago. And it's not necessarily unique game ideas, but it's just like how I wanted to prepare and like execute on a particular thing that other people have done. And those other people, those games, they did fairly well, which doesn't mean, I should clarify, that doesn't mean that my version of that game would do very well, because those other people probably had marketing budgets. But I wanted to just kind of capitalize on that idea, and then somebody else did it. And it's like, oh, well, now if I do it, then it'll look like I'm copying them. Whereas like we both had the same original idea. It's just they brought it to market first. So it looks like they're the originators of that idea and I would just be copying it. There's a couple other game ideas that I want to do at some point. But I have a feeling that by the time I get done with them, somebody else will have already made that. But that's how it goes. And it doesn't, that's a whole nother topic right there about like the influence and copying and all that other stuff. Like there's a lot to be talked about there too, but I wanted to just kind of give another example aside from just seeing some weeds sticking out of a road. So that's all I've got for this one, but I hope that you found it interesting and inspiring. I think that it's important to make sure that you recognize those opportunities and you capitalize on them when possible. So thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. I really genuinely do appreciate it. I hope that you have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Be remarkable.